So if you want to quit drinking alcohol and you found it really challenging, I'm going to explain and demystify why. So pay attention to this video. So the reason it's hard to quit drinking alcohol is because once you start drinking it consistently, you basically fall into what's called the dopamine feeding cycle. And the dopamine feeding cycle is when you drink alcohol, it floods your brain with dopamine. You feel very rewarded, euphoric, and motivated. But before coming back to a normal state, it dips below to the equal and opposite direction. So you're in a dopamine deficit. This is why the next day you feel like shit, you feel hungover, you feel bored, you feel unmotivated, and you're just kind of thinking about your next drink. Now, when we're stuck in a dopamine feeding cycle, it feels very difficult to quit drinking because this emotional state that's driving this desire to get that dopamine is very, very strong. It goes beyond your willpower, it goes beyond your conscious mind. So if you haven't been able to stop drinking, it's not a moral failure or an intellectual failure. It's that you're messing with a very important neurotransmitter, dopamine, which we have been biologically wired for the last 6 million years to pay very close attention to. Dopamine is a self-reinforcing neurotransmitter, meaning whatever caused that dopamine rush, the body and mind pays attention to it and will continue to reinforce that behavior. And so to help you understand, dopamine is responsible for our evolution. We wouldn't be here as human beings in 2022 sitting on TikTok if it wasn't for dopamine. Dopamine is secreted and released in high levels during sex and eating food and acquisition of resources, which are 3 things that have been integral as part of our human experience. So the first thing that we need to address and overcome is the dopamine feeding cycle, which I help my clients do. Second thing is we need to radically improve our lifestyle and begin doing things that supports our improved self-awareness, improve mental and emotional regulation. We need to learn new coping mechanisms so that we can discharge stress. We need to better understand how our mind works, how our body, our feelings, emotions, and sensation works. And we need to actually reform how we experience and interface with ourselves as human beings. Most people are fully identified with their thoughts and they're fully identified with their emotions. And I actually teach my clients how to live in a higher state of awareness where you can observe your mind, you can observe your thoughts, you can observe your emotions and actually gain agency and control. This is the space between stimulus and response. It's what helps you go from being somebody who is reactive to somebody who is responsive. So I know I've kind of covered a lot in this video, but ultimately understanding that quitting drinking has very little to do with alcohol. It's the process of coming back home to yourself so that you can finally mentally, emotionally, and spiritually evolve. Comment below.